Hey, Marina. We're
Hi.
back again. I love it. I am teaching a class and about these topics that we're talking about. And so I've talked Marina into making videos with me and letting me ask questions. And we're back at it. So today we're going to speak or talk, have conversations around emotions and persona play. I'm glad you're here with me, Marina.
Oh, I'm excited to be here with you, Janet. I had so much fun in our last little chat. So thanks for having me. Yeah.
Sweet. So I guess the class that I'm teaching, and they're going to be watching this, so I'm excited that they get to hear from you because you've been doing this for how many years?
Oh gosh. For well, 2001 was when I had my first real retreat type of a thing. I went for 8 days and just dove in for 8 days. There was no phone calls, there was no nothing. It was away from the world retreat, 8 days of diving in, doing a lot of deep healing work. And that was a lot of my beginning stuff. I mean, I had started already into like the intuitive and energy realm. And so I was doing work that way. But my work with emotion didn't really even start until probably about 2001, in November of 2001. And then it was like, boom, wow, this is what I've been missing my whole life. This is what I've been looking for my whole life, is how to deal with emotions. I was massively shut down. Like I was so backward. I was so shy. I was so disconnected from my own emotional state of being that I wouldn't even talk to people on the phone. I wouldn't interact with other human beings. It was me, my siblings that I was safe with, and my kids and my husband. That was it. I was so backward and so shy. And I look back now
Oh,
and I'm like, it's all because I didn't know how to face emotion. Didn't know how to deal with it.
I totally hear where you're coming from because I feel like that in my upbringing and my world, emotions have kind of been kicked around and yet we go to school and we learn about all these subjects and everything, but we don't even touch on emotions really, and it's not passed down from mother to daughter or father to son. And so I feel like, to me, it's a rebirth of some sort too with myself,
Yeah.
learning these things, and it encompasses all of my life and relationships.
Yes, mine too. Mine too. So much of society, like a kid's born and they are natural emotion flowers, right? Like so a baby's born and they cry when they're sad, and they throw a fit when they're angry, and that when they're hungry they like, I need food, right? And we naturally flow this emotion. And then based on how our parents deal with this, our siblings deal with this, society deals with this, we're taught right from the very beginning to squelch all that emotion that's flowing, that's trying to flow, right? And one of the first things I noticed with parents, and I'm not trying to blame parents because I get it, I was a parent, I did the same thing, and that was the baby cries and it's like, oh no, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay.
Don't
When
cry, don't
don't
cry.
cry, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry, right? Or if you're
Yeah,
in a fairly abusive family, like the one I was raised in, it was like, I'm going to give you something to cry about, and it's in the form of a beating,
yeah.
right? And so we learn from very, very early on that it isn't safe to have emotion. It's not safe. And I think that's probably the biggest reason I've noticed that people shut down their emotion, is because it's not safe to feel. We're either going to get teased about the emotion, we're going to be judged about our emotion, we're going to be told we're wrong for having emotion. And so very early on we learn to shut it down.
Okay, so I kind of wanted to interject something right there before we go on further. So I was holding my grandbaby the other day, and she started squawking, and I went to put her pacifier in her mouth, and the thought came to me, just listen to her.
Oh,
And and so
Janet.
I yeah, it was like, oh my gosh, I've always just popped the pacifier in the mouth, right?
Yeah.
And so I just put her face right by my lips, right by her head. and just said, "Oh, tell me about it." And she just her tone changed a little, and she just sat there and told me all about it. And it was such a neat
Oh,
connection. Like, forever, that's all I do with my babies is I just pop their pacifier in there.
right.
But did that teach her, the baby at that moment, that of course, for one, it's okay to have emotions, but did that help her self-soothe?
That's a really great question. I was having the thought like you heard her. She had an experience
Uh,
of being heard in such a deep way. I know there's a lot of stuff out right now about letting your babies self-soothe, and
yeah.
I'm kind of got mixed emotions about it all. Like I
Huh.
don't think there's anything wrong with them having a pacifier and having that first experience of life with all of life in support of them. To me, that feels more nurturing to a little infant that's just coming into this world that seems harsh. But I don't know. I don't know. What are your thoughts about that?
Oh my gosh. So it kind of almost sounds like we're talking about, do we let them cry it out at night when we've had just enough.
Yeah.
And I did let a baby or two cry it out. My first babies, I let them cry it out at night to hopefully that they would sleep all night, or at least, 4 hours at a time or whatever. But now that I look back, it bothered me that I did that.
Me too.
It it made me wonder if it made them more insecure or felt like they didn't have support around them.
Mm.
So now I watch my daughters struggle, and of course they're so equipped and wise with their babies. But gosh, I don't know. Like, I would rather see a mom let and a dad let the baby cry it out if they're getting frustrated, for sure.
Mhm.
Cry it out rather than get it annoyed and angry at the baby. I wouldn't want the baby to feel that emotion of anger so much
Mhm.
with their caretakers. But yeah, that's an interesting question. I guess your motive is everything in
Yeah, I
that
would say
sense.
your motive is everything. Also, through my journey, I've studied a little bit with the brain development, and during the first 6 months of life is when the baby is learning how to bond, right? And so during the bonding phase, that baby needs like a lot of connection, human connection and bonding and love. This is how they learn about love is within this first 6 months of life, right? And so if a parent is like non-existent, or if they leave the baby for long periods of time in bed crying or whatever, you know what I'm saying, then that affects the way the baby will see love for the rest of its life until it interrupts the pattern, right? And
Wow.
so I've learned so much since having my own children. I'm like, dang, sometimes I wish I could go back and do it over again, except I don't really want to, because what I would do now is I would show the baby what life could be like, how connected, how much love there is, how much security there is, how much safety there is, how much support there is, and give them that as their first experience.
Wow. So it's almost like we're talking about where our emotions originally first get shut down,
Yes. Yes.
right?
Right from
And
the very beginning.
yep,
Like,
and
for
then
example, if that baby's crying and crying and crying and mom doesn't come and take care of its needs, well, what good is sadness then? That didn't get me anything.
yeah.
Right, or whatever, right? Like it didn't get me anything, so I'm not going to get anything from that. Or if the parent gets all angry and the baby's like scared, oh no, I did something wrong, don't ever show emotion or dad is going to get mad at me or something like that. And we learn so quickly how to start shutting it down.
And then, then we have a story. Our core story could be something around, it's not safe to have emotions. I don't trust the people around me. So that will tie in later to a core story that could have developed as a baby. So, and then you go to school and you cry in class because of anxiety or whatever, and you're made fun of for crying,
Mm-hmm.
and um, so I can see where we kind of gather that and pick that up through life. And it seems like as we shut down and shut down and shut down, we we might express our emotions in anger, and you describe our emotions like a hose that the water's running through, and if you clog the hose, if you kink the hose, the water is going to come through somewhere and you won't get to decide.
Mhm.
It'll just spurt out in you know uh,
Unhealthy ways.
unhealthy ways.
Yes.
And I feel
Yes.
like that our emotions, if we're shut down in our emotions as adults, we're going to have our anger outbursts. We're going to have our relationships are just they revolve around us being willing to admit to our emotions or acknowledge our emotions. Like it's the core for so many things.
It really, really, really is. So a slight clarification about the hose analogy, okay, is our body. It's our body that's like the hose, okay? And emotion is energy that's trying to move through the hose or the body, and that's sort of like the water, right? And so then when we run from an emotion or squelch an emotion or try to stuff an emotion down, it's literally like we're either kinking the hose or we're putting goop inside that hose, right? And so what happens to water when it gets still, when it's not moving, is it gets stagnant, right? The same thing happens with our energy. Is our energy gets stagnant. It can't move anymore. Its natural form is to move all the way through the body. And if that gets stuck and stopped, then it gets stagnant and built up. And then it can come out, like you were saying, as explosions. It can come out as excessive tears, especially for hiding like anger or whatever. It can come out in the emotion that was safe for us to feel in our household when we were a kid, right? And so it can also show up as disease in the body because when energy gets stagnant, it starts, I don't know how to say
Bacteria.
it. It starts getting icky, very much like water, only on our planet, that's very important to have water that does that. That's a whole ecosystem, right? But in our bodies, that energy is meant to flow and it'll get stagnant and sticky and gross and heavy. And then we're going to have all kinds of reactions and issues and challenges as a result of that. And especially, I love how you brought up in our relationships. So this is huge in relationships. Like this is one of the most core issues that I have ever seen in all relationships. When somebody comes to me with issues in their relationships, I look at two things. What emotions are they not willing to face and be authentic with? And two, what stories are they believing that aren't true? And those two things actually tie together because we'll have a trigger in our relationship and it triggers a story that we've got going on in our head or a limiting belief, right? Or a mindset that doesn't work. So we get that triggered. And then as a result of that, we have an emotion. So if we're covering all that up and trying to push it away and pretend like it's not there, or we're trying to be nice on top of it all, right? Or maybe some people will actually go to anger when what's really going on is fear or sadness, then this will show up in the relationship and it's inauthentic. And so relationships happen the best in authenticity. That's where they flow, is in authenticity. And so learning how to face your own emotion helps you know how to be real with your partner or whoever you're in relationship with, right? So that the authenticity of that can be there.
Wow. I was thinking of more ways that it can show up in a marriage, and that shutdown, it can show up as perfectionism or extreme quietness or extreme loudness.
Yeah, mine showed up as people pleasing,
Yeah.
right? Like I
Well,
was
that's way
so
more
unwilling,
holy.
huh?
It's way more holy to be a people pleaser than a angry, jealous person, right?
That's what our society has deemed better,
Yeah.
but boy is it damaging. And that was definitely the path I chose. And I made myself very, very sick for many years because I was so inauthentic and out of alignment with myself because I was denying my own desires, my own feelings, my own thoughts so that I could make sure to save the peace and have everything look good, and other people taken care of. And then I had the story or the belief system, right? That was what was righteous. That's
Yeah.
what was good. And what happened is I created tons of health issues in my body, and I created tons of inauthentic relationships.
Wow, because you were living your relationships for someone else. What
Yes.
would look holy, what would be good and right.
Yep. Yep.
Wow.
And it was inauthentic.
Yeah.
I
So
oftentimes
go ahead. Go ahead.
I oftentimes see emotion as children, as like children, right? And that emotion's trying to get your attention, just similar to like a little child, right? And the little child will come up and go, "Mama, mama, mama," right? "I need this, I need that." And if you look at that child initially and you go, "Oh, you need some food. Okay, let's take care of you," right? And the parent takes care of the child. The child's need is taken care of easily right in the beginning, and then it runs off and goes plays and does its thing, right? But what happens is if we don't listen to that child, right? Then what happens is they're going to get louder, and the child's going to be like, "Mama, listen to me. I need something," right? And then if we still go, "Get out of my sight, go away," that child may go away, but they're going to get destructive to get your attention,
Yeah.
right? And our emotions are just like that. If we will listen to what's going on in our emotional state of being right from the beginning and address it right from the beginning, then we're in that flow and we stay in that flow of energy. But if we don't listen and we keep pushing it away, that energy is going to get destructive.
Mm. So is it very common when somebody does start diving into their emotions and literally going within, going quiet and listening to those emotions, would it be normal for the person to say, "I don't feel anything. I don't the emotions aren't talking."
Mhm. Yeah, sometimes I've encountered a good handful of people through my career that really can't feel much of anything in their body. And this is just a result of, well, I would say it's a survival mechanism because emotion was so not welcomed or safe, or they got teased or something big happened to where they went, "Oh, that is so unsafe. I got to not even have emotions." So what they do is they literally bring their energy up and they're living here, and so they survive in their head. They're probably big thinkers, big talkers. Um, they live here, but there's a whole world down here that they aren't accessing. And I've run into this quite a few times. Do you want me to share what to do about that?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so first, the very, very, very first thing I suggest is to start breathing. Okay, because one of the first ways we humans stop ourselves from feeling an emotion is by either stopping our breath or bringing our breath up so that it's very shallow in our body. So that looks like a breathing up in your chest, like a, okay, that type of a breathing versus having your breath expand your belly. So if you can have your breath expand in your belly as you're breathing, that's going to automatically send you from your head to your body. However, I'll warn people right now, that's also going to allow the emotion to start to flow. And when that happens, you've got to be willing to stay with the emotion, to observe, to watch the emotion. And that's what we're all running from. Really, we're all running from intense feeling. We don't like it, we don't love it, it feels like danger, it feels like the tiger chasing us, right? And so then we shut it down. So once you start breathing, you're going to start feeling again. There's just no two ways about it. Okay, so a person still may not be able to feel very much if they've been really good at shutting it off, right? So over time, keep breathing, keep breathing, keep breathing. And then I invite people to start at the surface level. So like start at the outside of your body first. Okay. And what we're looking for is sensation. So touch your body, put pressure on your body, if you have to, because I've met people that can't really even feel touch because they've shut down their emotions so much. So emotion is shows itself as sensation in our body. That's how emotion shows us, okay, that it's there. So if we can start with the surface level of our body and put pressure on our body, or even like if it's real bad, pinch yourself, right? Like cause a slight bit of pain so that you can feel the sensation. And once you can feel that sensation, then start breathing and being aware, bring your attention to the sensation that's going on in your body so that you can retrain your brain that it's okay to have sensation going on in the body. You're not going to die if you have sensation happening in the body. This is actually one of the things I've encountered with people who cut themselves
Mhm.
is they are so shut off to their emotional state of being. Like people will be like, I'm so depressed and blah, blah, whatever. And they think that this is an emotional big energy, but it's actually the opposite. It's that you've suppressed the energy so much that you actually can't feel something. And so people want to feel something. We're feeling beings. We want to feel something. And so oftentimes people will cut themselves because they can actually feel the sensation.
Right, right. I
And
totally
there's
get
other
that.
reasons too, but this is one of the main ones that I've run across.
And usually they're not planning on ending their life. They
Mm-mm.
just want to feel. Yeah,
They just want to feel again and have
yeah,
feeling be okay,
yeah.
but they don't know how to let that emotion come up and feel that and be okay because it feels like a big scary monster,
Right.
right? And so of course you're going to run from a big scary monster,
So true.
right?
So
Until we learn how to face into and move toward the emotion and the feeling, it's going to keep feeling like a scary monster. Once we can do that, though, in a consistent way, the emotion becomes like that little child again going, hey, I'm hungry. And then you feed it. And it's easy.
before it has a big fit on the floor and you don't know what the heck is wrong with it.
Exactly. Like, what the heck do I do? This kid's always throwing fits. That's because you're not listening to him when it's little.
Yeah.
When it's little.
Wow. You know, I was visiting with somebody and he was suicidal, off and on suicidal. And he said, truthfully, I don't really want to die.
Mm,
So I feel like it was just a big way of running from those emotions and being scared of that storm that's brewing,
yeah.
right?
Yep. Yep. I've wanted to die probably for about 30 years of my life. I wanted to die. But I had stories, thank goodness I had stories, like I would go to hell, you know what I'm saying? And that kept me here. I'm a big wimp to pain, right? And so it was like, well, gosh, what does that mean? What kind of pain am I gonna have to go through to kill myself? You know what I'm saying? So there were all that going on, but that's exactly like you nailed it. That's exactly what it was for me was I did not know how to face the intensity of my own emotions. And part of it is I'm very empathic and I pick up on all kinds of people's emotions, right? It's not only my emotions that I'm dealing with. So I walk into a room and I can feel that there's all this stuff going on in all these people, right? And then I get to feel that on top of my own emotions. And it's so big sometimes that I didn't know how to handle it. And so it started with me learning how to deal with my own emotion, my own sensation when it was little first, right? And then I've grown the muscle to be able to handle going into a room and having a lot of other people be in emotion too.
So let's look at that a little bit because that I know of a lot of people that are empathic enough. Did you say empathic?
Yes, empathic.
That they take on other people's, and where I visit with people and coach people with mental health, then that is a thing. But I feel like that now that you're not trying to fix anybody or you're not trying to teach anybody necessarily. I mean, you are teaching me, but you how do I put it? You're not you're not healing anybody. You're teaching me, but you're not my healer really, or you're
Right.
not my fixer.
Right.
So now when you are around me, if I was just needy, I don't think it would just drain your energy like it would have, right?
Right. Because I'm not perceiving you as the victim anymore.
Yeah.
Right. And that was a big shift for me is that when I stopped perceiving everybody in the room as a victim to their own emotions, I didn't have to fix them now, right? And I still feel them, but I don't have to fix them. I don't have to do anything with it. I just get to feel what's in my own body, and that's my responsibility is, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And so the shift does take place here for sure, and it makes it all so much easier when I can perceive everybody as not a victim.
Okay, let's take that a step further.
Okay.
As we look at our own life and our own emotions and we don't see ourselves as victims, I don't think we see others as victims.
Right. It always
I'm
all starts with us.
yes,
All of it.
like
All of it does.
just recently coached a gal, and she had the saddest story I've ever heard in my life, and I did not label her as a victim.
Oh, yay!
It was so powerful, and she appreciated it so much.
Yes.
Like,
When we
she
label people as
knew,
victims, we literally help them take their power away. I mean, we literally help them give their power away.
but I saw her when I handled her story appropriately and, without trying to fix her, without trying to uh, teach her lessons or whatever. I saw her energy just, I mean, she started glowing and she went out of the house like she was dancing. And I wasn't left with any energy of, oh no, what can I do to help her? None
Right.
of that.
Right.
Like she knows what to do to help her.
Yes.
And oh, it's just a whole different feeling.
Yes,
It,
it really is. To look
no,
at
it
people
does.
as powerful human beings with everything they need to handle it, and you're here to love and support them, but not to take it away and not to fix them. Because
Yes,
there's
yes.
nothing wrong with them. They're not a victim to their experiences.
Now it is harder when I'm dealing with my own daughters.
Me too. Me too. And grandkids.
They're going to be watching this, and I hope they will post a video to I mean, they know the real me, and it's so hard to not try to help and fix. Oh my gosh.
Yep.
Anyway, so on this same train of thought, I had some friends, people that was working with that had mentioned this situation. And I know that this is kind of off topic a little bit, but it also is something that's really pressing on their mind. And we haven't really dove into the yeses and nos as much as we will. But if you could give them an answer, we haven't dove into their core story either. And so I know that this ties into their core story, but if you can give an answer that is not, really diving into core story, or I mean, maybe even yes, an answer that goes, you're going to have to talk about yes and no's. But this person he lives right by his brother, and his brother financially has just struggled like horribly, well, in all aspects of his life. He struggles with relationships, with finances, with health, with all the things, right? And so he's doing pretty well business wise, this brother, but his brother that lives next door is not. And his brother will come over and borrow his work truck or his equipment that his family really depends on to make a living and do as well as he's doing. And he doesn't, he says, I can't say no. I cannot say no. I do not want to see these people next door starve and their animals starve. So he borrows my equipment to go get hay for the animals or go get groceries for the kids. And yet he knows it's not sustainable, that he's given him handouts rather than a hand up, or he's enabling him, is what his wife says, is he's
Yeah.
enabling his neighbors, but he cannot say no. What do you have to say with that story?
That's a really tough situation to be in. First off, I'll just address that. It's tough to be in, especially I'm going to guess that this person um, has a very generous heart. and wants to give and wants to support and has big love for people, and it's hard for him probably to see his brother in pain and struggling and see his family in pain and struggling. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's a little empathic too, where he's picking up on his brother's feelings and all of that. That's a tough place to be in, so I'll say that first.
Okay.
And and enabling definitely will not help. So I would like, if I were coaching this person, what I support them to do would be to really check in with themselves and notice the emotion that it triggers within them. So this person who's like the brother who's making the money, right? And is helping out and enabling. Look at your emotion. What's going on in you when you see somebody struggling like that, right? What's going on in you? And face that first. Face that first. Look at it, feel it, notice what it's doing inside of you first. Because here's the thing, he absolutely will not be able to do any different action until he stops running from his own pain, from his own discomfort around his brother suffering. Okay, so that's the first thing, is to look at that, because we want our actions to be authentic and guided by inspiration, not to be on autopilot, right? Like, we don't want
Mhm.
our actions to just, well, I can't say no, so okay, here you go. Because is that really serving his brother? I don't know. Who knows? Because it's not inspired action. What if inspiration's trying to come in through this brother and go, hey, what your brother really needs is blah 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 blah, whatever it is, right? But because he can't hear it, because he's running from his own discomfort, he's not going to hear the inspiration of what would really bless his brother. Okay,
Okay.
so I'll sum that all up again to hopefully simplify it. Listen to your emotions. This, whoever this person is, listen to the emotions and feel the discomfort of what your brother's going through. Feel the discomfort of what he's going through. Feel the discomfort in your own body and face it and be there for yourself through that emotion first, because that's going to free you up to therefore then ask the question, okay, what's going to really serve my brother? And when you can ask the question, what's going to really serve my brother, then listen for the answer and let yourself be inspired as to what's actually going to bless him. And here's the funny thing, it might be the very same action. It could be, and it could be a completely different action, but it's going to come through the one who's listening to the inspired action in a whole different way, and it's going to serve not only this brother that's listening, but it's going to serve the other brother in a bigger way.
Wow. He'll be able to show up maybe more inspired when he
Yes,
does show up. It'll be inspired and truly from the right place.
yes. And that's the difference, is serving our fellow human from inspiration so that we can
Wow.
really truly serve our brother, right? Instead
Yeah.
of just on autopilot in what we think we should be doing or what we can't say no to.
Yeah. Got it. Wow. Okay. That feels like it went in a whole different, you're not saying don't do that, but
No.
look within, listen, feel, ask the question, what would really bless my brother?
Yes. And let
And
yourself be follow that inspiration, because then you're
great.
helping two brothers, right? You're helping yourself and your brother.
Oh, I love
And who
that.
knows, maybe even more than that. Maybe by this person tuning in and going, well, how can I really serve my brother? What's the truth of this? Like, where's the inspiration? Then that action goes out and truly blesses his brother. And then who knows what action that brother will do as a result of that and bless people. And then it can ripple forward.
Wow. Because I think this brother that brought this question to me, I think he literally he knows this is not self-sustaining and nor is it kind to bail his brother out constantly.
Mhm.
It's going to keep his brother stuck.
Yeah. But he can't change that because he's running from the discomfort inside of himself by watching his brother. And he's got
Yes.
to face that discomfort so what's authentic can come through.
I mean, he could move out of the out of the area away from his brother.
You could, but then you're really not serving your brother.
Mm. Sometimes we want to flee, the fight, flight, or what are the four Fs,
Yeah, fight,
instead of face.
fight. Now let's see if I can say them. So we got fight, flee, faint, or freeze.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, that is really really helpful. And that isn't the outcome that I thought, but it is so true. It feels like when you deal with your own emotions, you can open the way for inspiration.
Mhm. Yes. Do we want to chat a little bit about like how do you face your emotions?
Yeah, yeah, let's
Like
do.
what
Let's
that
work that
process
next.
looks like?
Yeah, let's do.
Because it's almost like I can hear people saying, "Okay, that's all great. Now I know why it's a good thing to feel my emotion." But like, how do you do it? I get this
Yeah.
question a lot. How do you do it?
So
What
I
are
think you
the
were getting
logistical
there.
details? Hmm?
You were getting there. You said if it's a person that is not used to feeling the emotions, then to go within and feel sensations, right?
Yes, yes, yes. But let's see if I can simplify it even more. Okay.
Okay,
Because I feel like if it's simple, people can get it faster and easier. Right. So
true.
basically, an emotion will show up as a sensation in the body, period. So a sensation looks like tightness, maybe heaviness, warmth, cold, twisting, tightness, tinglies, pressure. Like these are sensations. So what you want to do is to close your eyes and tune into your body, like scan your body with your attention and notice sensation. And what people tend to first notice are the surface sensations. They'll be like, my neck's really tight, right? If they tend to be a little more connected with their emotions, I oftentimes get, oh, I got this heaviness in my chest, or I've got like the butterflies in my stomach, right? That's a little bit more internal, right? But we're looking for any sense. Start with whatever sensation shows itself to you, and then what you want to do is you just want to watch that. It's really that simple. You just want to watch it while you breathe. So breathe, 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 always breathe and watch the sensations that are currently happening in your body. And when you do this consistently, so I suggest people sit with themselves in the morning or whenever they can, pause like 10 times throughout the day if you have to, and just sit with yourself for 5 minutes and observe whatever sensations are going on in your body. That's it while you're breathing. It's so simple, so simple. And this is like listening to that child when they first have the need. Of course, if you've been holding back the emotion forever, you're going to get like what you got with that little baby, like, you're going to get that with your emotion, right? And it's going to start bubbling up and it's going to be like, all these years of not listening to me, and now you're listening to me. Okay. So they will present themselves, these emotions. And your job is to stay present with them and stay present with them and stay present with them and stay present with them. I promise it will not last forever.
There's nothing to fix or do. You just
No,
acknowledge.
yep, there's nothing to fix, nothing to do, nothing to change. Just observe and allow those emotions to be there exactly as they are. Yeah, one other thing that I want to say is that a lot of people get emotion and action, they have them connected, okay, inside their brain. So it's like, I feel angry, therefore I have to punch a hole in the wall, right? And it's almost like the two are connected internally, like they've got a neural pathway connection of anger means violence, or sadness means I'm gone the rest of the day, or you know what I'm saying? Like we have these connections in our brain. What I want to say is they are two separate things. You have emotion and you have action. Just because you feel angry does not mean you need to punch your hand through the wall. Okay.
It's not you.
Huh?
Anger is not you. You're noticing anger.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. You're noticing the anger. You are not the anger. You
Okay.
are not the sadness. You are not the fear. You're just noticing it. It's happening inside of you. And when you can notice it, you can start to separate that in your brain. I also want to give people a little skill if you're okay with that.
Oh, yes, I'd love it.
So if you find that you do have emotion and the action as one thing, you can literally separate that by imagining you put one in each hand. Okay. So you'd go emotion in this hand, action in this hand. So then you go emotion is emotion, action is action. Emotion is emotion, action is action. And you do that like 10 times. And what that does is that starts to separate the neural pathways and helps you to start to see that they're two separate things and you do not have to react just because you have a feeling.
Okay. So that is the next skill after acknowledging. Then the next step would be notice that you are not angry. It is just there.
Hmm. Yes.
So,
Isn't you. There are some people who drown in their emotion, and
mhm,
it's because they become the emotion,
yeah.
right? And even in our verbiage as a society, we'll say things like, I'm sad. No,
I'm
you're
depressed.
not sad. You are
Yeah.
feeling sad, but you
Wow.
aren't sad. That's not who you are. Right. So
Mm.
do have a tendency to drown. Well, some people have a tendency to drown in emotion. I see two types of people. I see people who run from emotion and stuff it and try to do away with it, and then I see people who drown in emotion. They take it on so big that they lose themselves in the emotion.
Wow, that's a good point. I'm trying to write this down.
You're good. So I'll just keep talking. So the key here is to become the observer of the emotion for both people, for both types of people. If you're running from it, start breathing and observing the emotion, and that will help you to stay present with it. If you're drowning in it, start breathing and being present with it, watching it, observing the emotion, and that will help you to come out of drowning in it.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, oh, wow, it just takes the fight out of it, doesn't it? To just observe.
It really does. Presence. Our presence
Huh.
is one of the most powerful tools that we have.
Yeah.
It changes everything, our presence. It takes us out of victimhood, takes us out of trying to save everybody. It takes us out, it helps us to be present with the emotion so the emotion can stop looking like a monster that we have to run from. It helps us have more love and connection in relationships. It helps us have more love and connection with ourselves, helps us have more love and connection with spirit. You know what I'm saying? Like there's so much. Presence is so powerful. If we did nothing but presence, everything would change.
I'm really loving what we're saying, but I want to kind of push this a little bit further and say, if I was on the drama triangle, and I'm in the middle of a crisis of some sort, uh, it's still good to just breathe and know and notice, but maybe even get some space from the drama triangle, from the physical, from the other parts to the drama triangle. I mean, you can't escape it when it's in your head, but breathing is still good for even when you're in the thick of it, right?
Yes,
And
so this can
acknowledge.
totally interrupt the pattern, whether it's in your head or whether you're doing it with another person, right? Like going, okay, interrupt the pattern. I'm in drama. Catch yourself in drama, and then step out of it and go. Even if you're with somebody in drama, and you go, okay, I need to take a break so that I can get out of this and get my head on straight, right?
Yeah,
Because when you're in drama, you do not have access to aliveness, to anything other than those four F's, right?
yeah,
Fight,
yeah.
flee, faint, or freeze. You only have access to those things when you're in drama. You don't have access to aliveness. You don't have access to closeness, connection, love. You don't have access to any of that because you're in fight or flight.
Or inspiration
For
on
inspiration,
anything.
you cannot get inspiration. So take a break, step out of it. Go take a minute, be present with your emotions, breathe and feel and move your body and be present with all that for a minute. And that will pop you back out of drama to where you have access to more than just your fight or flight brain and you can actually get inspiration about what needs to happen.
So that might lead us right into the persona technique.
Yeah.
Can you visit a little bit about the persona?
Yeah, so a persona is basically a mask, like a mask that we put on ourselves, and we did this very early on, oftentimes, to survive. Right? So a persona could look like almost anything. Some of my personas were like people pleasing was a persona. It wasn't authentic, right? It's something I put on myself to therefore be able to survive in a way that I thought I needed to survive. Okay. So a persona could be funny. So it could be that you talk a lot. It could be perfectionism. It could be victim. Like a persona is anything that you use to cover up what's authentically going on inside of here.
Okay.
It could even be the teacher, right? It could be the facilitator. You're putting on a hat of the priest, right? The
Yeah.
righteous one. It could be the wicked one. It could be the rebel. It could be anything that we use to cover up what's authentically going on inside of us.
So so when we have I'm so persona is not, it's nothing bad or to fix. It's just something to notice.
Mhm. To notice when we can bring awareness and presence to whatever is authentically going on, and in that moment what's authentic is I might have a persona that I'm playing in, right? And you go, oh my goodness, look at me. I am i am trying to hero this person over here because I think it's going to help me be loved more. Right? And when you do that, you've interrupted the pattern. You can never go back to that same level of using that pattern because you're
Right.
going to catch yourself. So then the more you catch yourself, the easier it is to have it just kind of fall away. You go, oh, do I really want that or do I want to be authentic?
Right.
Right? And just your presence and awareness alone will shift it. There's other fun things you can do too to help shift it if you want to, but just your presence and your awareness of it will begin shifting it.
Yeah. Well, like with all addictions, if we say, don't do that, don't do that, I don't want to do that, I don't want to be like that, it actually doesn't help. It contracts and it
Mhm.
kind of just glues it to you, right?
Yes, it solidifies it inside of you.
Yes. And addictions, personas can be addictions, right? Like
They are addiction.
perfectionism,
Yep.
um, being the hero, being the savior, or whatever that you try to be to people, um, is an addiction or
Hmm.
can be an addiction.
Hmm.
So rather than, no, 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 I don't want to do this, I don't want to be like this, it's more like, wow, funny, I'm noticing that I'm trying to hero my kids, or I'm trying to uh, do, whatever it is, save my kids, you know.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. You said it just beautifully. So I don't know what else I would even want to say around that. That was perfect. Yeah. Have compassion for yourself too. So self beat up around having a persona or anything really, an addiction of any sort, will continue the addiction,
Okay.
right? Because we're doing it because we want love. I mean, that's the essence of it. We want to feel something, right? So we do an addiction so that we can either feel something or not feel something. And when we beat ourselves up, then we end up leaning and moving more towards those the comfort patterns that we have to try to make ourselves feel better because we just beat ourselves up. And so then we latch onto the addiction even harder. I'm sure you know all about
Oh, it's almost like the personas are a way of coping and a way of, they're just it helped get us through some things.
that. Yes. Yes, they did. They helped us survive.
I
And it's
mean,
actually really sweet.
they were a crutch, and thank you for your service, and you're not really needed anymore.
Yeah, let's maybe start using you for something that does work.
Yeah,
Right?
correct.
Like how could perfectionism be used in a way that actually serves instead
Mm.
of damages? Right? So that you're using perfectionism consciously and not as a persona. Right? And what's interesting when you start asking questions like that is uh, wow, magic starts happening. You start having ideas and thoughts and things coming in that you may have never thought of. Like, How could perfectionism bless? Who knows? How could whatever persona we're using actually serve and bless? And once they're used as a service and a blessing, they're not a persona anymore.
Ooh, I have never thought of that because perfectionism has a sound I that kind of is like nails on the chalkboard type of sound.
That's just because of our judgments of it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Wow. How can it be used for great as a tool?
How could it be used as a tool and used consciously?
Hmm.
Right. And when
It's
we, and I'm
awesome.
not even going to give any answers. I'm just inviting people to ask those questions and don't answer it. Just ask the question and don't answer it. And you'll be surprised at how, what ideas come in for you and how to use that persona in a way that's actually of service, which ceases to become a persona over time.
Oh, I love it. Let's just leave that question. I think we're running out of time anyway. Why not leave that as a question? How can we make the personas work for us or
Yeah. Serve us.
serve us without judging?
Yeah. At
Oh,
least,
I love
at
it.
least until they unwind. You know what I mean? Like, no resistance. This isn't about resistance. It's about finding the gem inside of the judgment that you've got. What's the gift? What's the gift of the persona? Why did they come to bless you? Why did it show up to serve you? How can it be used in a way that's going to help you instead of hurt you? How can it
Wow.
serve other people instead of hurting other people, you know?
And we can apply that same formula to the emotions that are coming up or the
Mhm.
judgment that we have on ourselves about how, for instance, how big of a helicopter mom I was way back, and still sometimes dabble with that, and how like it served me, it got me through some really tough times, and how could it serve me still if it was in the right motive, or it was used as a tool, not as a mechanism of survival.
Right. Yes. So none of our actions are, well, I don't want to say it like that. It's like our actions can come from two places. They can either come from our essence or they can come from these survival mechanisms. And we'll get more into that when we discuss core story stuff. But they can come from two places. When our actions come from mechanism, we're working against ourselves and others. When our actions come from essence, that we're working for ourselves and for each other, right? And
Ah,
so just by, I was wanting to say something specifically and I lost it. But the essence of, you want to be in essence, right?
right.
So the idea is to go to the questions and go to flow and go to feeling your emotions, because that's the biggest place that you can actually start coming from your authentic essence. But when you're shoving the emotion away, when you're pushing it all away, when you're believing all kinds of stuff that isn't true, your actions are going to come from survival, and that's not going to serve you or your brother.
Yeah. You will be down in the drama triangle.
Yep.
Okay,
You'll be
good.
down in drama and probably not having too good of a time. But you get the adrenaline hit, so there is that.
Part of the addiction. Oh, I love it. Thank you, Marina. I have loved our time together, and it goes so fast.
Oh, I'm
I've
surprised. I'm
I've already
shocked
got a
how
list
fast it goes.
of our next what our next video will be about. And also, people, if they see this on YouTube, they can post underneath there what they would love to see videos on.
Yes, that would be fabulous.
That
Yep.
would be super cool.
Subscribe to our
You know,
channel, or
yeah.
message us or whatever, and we'll bring up topics you want us to talk about.
'Cause I love throwing things at you and seeing your thoughts on different things, because it just feels like it kind of opens up again what I need to, so I can learn. It opens it up.
As
So I
a
love appreciate
as a
you.
teacher and facilitator, my one of my biggest intentions is to stay connected with intuition, stay connected with that inspiration, right? So that whatever shows up at me, whatever question people ask, I'm not coming from myself. I don't want to come just from me. I want that inspiration to come through, right? And so that's what I do the best that I can do. I'm not always on, for sure, I'm human too, but that's what I try to do.
I love it. Intuitive coaching, and I love that. Well, thank you so much. I
My
appreciate it.
pleasure. Thank you,
Again,
Janet. I have so much fun visiting with you.
me too. I have a good time with you, and we'll make the. I've already got some stuff jotted down, so
Okay.
we'll be together again.
Awesome. All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Talk to you later.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye.